Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us on KARE 11 News Now. I'm Rena Sargentopoulos. Let's get right to your headlines. New this afternoon, we are learning that State Senator Nicole Mitchell plans to resign from office early next month following her conviction on burglary charges last week. Documents obtained by our partners at NPR News from Mitchell's lawyers show that she will step down by August 4th so that she can wrap up some final work and give her staff time to find new jobs. Last week, a jury in northern Minnesota found Mitchell guilty of breaking into her stepmother's home last spring. She claims she was checking on her stepmother who has Alzheimer's, but prosecutors say she was there to steal. Mitchell represents District 47 in Woodbury and Maplewood. For the first time since spring of last year, the Stone Arch Bridge in downtown Minneapolis is back in business for bikers, walkers, and runners. And the reopening is earlier than previously announced. Here's KARE 11's Audrey Russo with those details.
This reopening date is sooner than what we were told even just a few weeks ago. At the beginning of July, we were told that the reopening date would be August 9th with food trucks, live music, entertainment. And then in the last 24 hours, we received word from the governor that the reopening's been moved up to 2 o'clock today. To jog your memory, Minnesota's iconic Stone Arch Bridge has been closed since early last year. The bridge was built in the 1880s, so it needed some mortar fixes and stones repaired and replaced. MnDOT says this is all to ensure the life of the bridge, which serves walkers and bicyclists. The closure was initially projected to last through October. And this is going to be welcome news for those bicyclists and pedestrians who, at different points over the last year, have been forced to take detours like the 3rd Avenue Bridge. This reopening also comes just in time for some big summer events that bring a lot of people to Minneapolis, like the Aquatennial this weekend. Back to you.
As soon as today, Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey's campaign could submit a challenge to the state DFL. They are citing flaws and irregularities after Minneapolis delegates chose State Senator Omar Fateh for the party's endorsement. KARE 11's Michelle Beck has more on what this all means.
We are watching for Mayor Jacob Frey to make his criticisms about the endorsement process official. So far, though, we just checked and no word on social media on whether a challenge has been submitted. Mayor Frey did say over the weekend this election should be decided by our entire city, not by a handful of delegates. In a similar statement, his campaign manager specified a, quote, extremely flawed and irregular conduct of this convention. The team is referring to the DFL meeting over the weekend when delegates chose to endorse State Senator Omar Fateh. And Fateh says he's incredibly honored. He just broke a 16-year streak in the party and earned that endorsement by securing over 60% of delegates' votes as required.
With the endorsement from the convention, this now means that the party can spend resources on his behalf. They can mobilize people. They can do phone calling. He basically has the full resources of the party that will help him in terms of his election bid come November.
5 people are running for mayor. Frey and Fateh are the 2 leading candidates. Now, this election uses ranked choice voting, so that could have a big impact on who ends up winning. Back to you.
St. Paul police are hoping someone saw what led up to a shooting near a homeless encampment. Police say they were called just after 1 p.m. Sunday to Jackson Street in the North End neighborhood. Several people, tell us, were trying to help a man who had been shot. Unfortunately, he was pronounced dead at the scene and no arrests have been made. In Minneapolis, police are looking for the person who shot and killed a 19-year-old man early Sunday morning. It all started just after 3 on Mississippi Drive and Lyndale Avenue north along the Mississippi River. First responders tried to save the victim, but he died at the scene. Minneapolis police say the gunman got away before officers arrived. Gopher Athletics is facing a money problem, and they're looking to students to help make it up. The University of Minnesota says new fees for all students are for athletic facilities, not to pay athletes. But that's not sitting well with a lot of people. KARE 11's Lou Raguse has that story.
Every student will have to pay this money wrapped into their overall student fees. But with recent tuition hikes, some students say having to pay it isn't fair.
On campus at the U of M, a lot of incoming freshmen would like the Gophers to field competitive teams.
I think our athletics matter a lot.
So many say they are okay with the idea of a new $200 a year fee. required for each enrolled student to pay so that the university can afford to directly pay student athletes.
Personally, $200 isn't too much to tack on. I think that's an okay fee if it means that we're supporting our athletes because, you know, they do a lot of hard work and we are a Big Ten school.
I think I might get $200 worth of entertainment from it.
But many other students strongly oppose the new fee, which ends up being $100 per semester.
It's really important that we do everything we can to keep costs of living on campus lower and not raise them in any way. Even though it is just $100, that's $100 that students aren't volunteering to pay. That's an additional $100 that is going to be very detrimental to students.
The new fee comes as the U of M and schools like it across the country can now pay student athletes $20.5 million this next school year as the result of a legal settlement. A university spokesperson points out the new student fee directly goes to athletic facilities, not into the student athletes' pockets. But sports law expert Nellie Drew says money is being shifted around like this at athletics departments everywhere to find ways to be able to pay the athletes.
I think you're going to see all kinds of creative fundraising going on as schools scramble to find the money to fund these revenues that student athletes are now entitled to.
Student body president Riley Hetland says she believes in paying athletes, but she argues that the money should come from those invested in Gopher sports.
Buying tickets for Gopher games are optional. Buying merchandise is all optional, but our $100 fee is not optional.
But schools across the country are doing it. And the U points out 7 other Big Ten schools have fees that directly support athletic facilities.
Even with the new fees, there is still an $8.75 million shortfall within the athletics budget.
President Trump is marking his 6 months in office, touting his accomplishments so far and looking ahead to trade deals that he says are close to being finalized. The president trying to move past the Epstein files controversy, but some of his supporters are reluctant to let go. NBC's Alice Barr has the latest details from Washington.
I remember I went to Nebraska to get a
6 months into his second term, President Trump claiming to have revived the country.
We hit a lot of home runs, and we're going to keep hitting them.
Celebrating passage of his massive tax and spending bill, controversial migrant deportations, and imposing tariffs on trading partners around the world, with U.S. businesses feeling the effects and bracing for sweeping reciprocal tariffs set to hit at the end of the month.
Nothing stops countries from talking to us after August 1st, but they're going to start paying the tariffs on August 1st.
But as President Trump presses ahead with his agenda, Republican infighting over the case of infamous sex offender Jeffrey Epstein not going away.
I'm ticked off at everybody. Look, this thing should have been handled.
The president claiming his poll numbers have gone up among Republicans since what he calls the Epstein hoax, though new CBS polling shows his overall approval rating declining since February, with Republicans almost evenly divided on the Epstein handling, and 89% of those surveyed saying the Justice Department should release all its Epstein information. After a request from President Trump, the DOJ has asked for grand jury transcripts to be unsealed, but pressure is mounting for convicted Epstein associate Ghislaine Maxwell to testify before Congress, including from former Epstein lawyer Alan Dershowitz.
She is the Rosetta Stone. She knows everything. She arranged every single trip.
The ongoing controversy looming over the Trump administration 6 months in. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
Stick with us. More news and weather coming up after the break.